Hey, what's up? I actually recently met someone at the Astronaut Challenge wondering about some ROBOTC questions, so I figured I'd just make a little video about it. The ROBOTC, the new graphical version, is free, and well, let me just type graphical here. And you can now do a VRC robot in competition mode and all that stuff just within graphical, which is really cool. Let's give this program a minute to open up. So if you just have a new team, especially in middle school, it makes it really easy to get started. I have a couple of middle school teams. One of them uses the graphical, and one of them uses text because they want to do a few other things. So it just depends on what they need. But you could start them with this. So this is, I'm actually kind of glad I saw this. When you do it a file new, if it just says new file, something is wrong. One of my friends over in Newberry, she's trying to figure this out and just couldn't get it to work because she didn't see it pop up there. So let's be sure. Oh, we're in IQ. That's the problem with this. So we need to be under the Cortex. Maybe that will just do it right there. Beautiful. So you should see this new competition template graphical. Okay, if you don't see that, something is wrong. It's not you, it's the program, but you have to figure it out. So you want to be on VRC, not IQ. And this came up. Now, the hardest thing you actually have to do here is the motor and sensor setup. Bunch of stuff here, right? So you want to go to the motors and just tell it where your motors are. So let's say I have my drive motors in 1 and 10. Most of your motors would be 393s. Forgot the flashlight was under that menu. That's kind of weird. So let's call this our left. Let's call this our right. And usually the right is reversed. And then be sure you're putting your left and your left and your right and your right. And let's say we also have an arm. Okay, that's also a 393. I'm not going to mess with the encoder port. You know, if you're just kind of starting off, you're not going to. This is just a basic tutorial. But that's where that will go if you want to use a encoder to measure. So encoders that you put on the back of it and measures rotations and stuff like that. Okay, I think we're good here. So here is your. We did this first. We used our motor sensor setup. Here's the competition template. So this is for the Starstruck game. This could be really easy because if you have a preloaded star, you either want to move it into the near zone or actually try and get it under the fence if you can. Maybe just get it out of your near zone and maybe into the other one. You could do this with a forward or backward depending on how your robot is oriented. Remember, you're always going to use seconds unless you have that encoder attached. So let's say we're going to go forward for 5 seconds. Try to design it so that it won't actually go under the fence, because if it touches the other side, it's a violation of the rule and you can be disqualified. I'm also going to put 127 power because you want it to go as fast as possible to beat the other robot because they're probably doing the exact same thing. For your driver control commands, I would use tank control to get you started. Tank control reads off of this. It reads off of what you set to the left and right in your motor and sensor setup. So that's really important to do that correctly. And channel 3 and channel 2, leave those alone. Those are up and down on the joystick. I don't have that here or the controller. And the 10, this tells it what numbers to ignore. Just leave this alone. This says if you move the stick up to 10, like if you move the stick up 5, it won't do anything, which is good because if it's just sitting there, it's not always going to be perfectly at 0. It's an analog measurement. Okay. Last thing we're going to need is an arm control for that extra arm. Now, port 3 is called arm. You don't see arm here on the list because you have to actually, I don't know if you have to close and open the file to actually get those to come up in here. But we'll go ahead and just say port 3. And then 5 up and 5 down are going to control that motor. And I don't want it to move very quickly, so I'm going to put 30. Those powers are out of 127. So this is, a robot with an arm. This would control it, and it would work with the competition, with the field controller. So for just to get started, this would get you good to go. What else is there? Be sure that you have installed the latest firmware. for the Cortex and the joystick, you want to plug them directly into the computer with the A to A cable, the orange USB cable. Get those both plugged straight into it, and make sure that they're updated. It doesn't update all at once like IQ. You have to update them one at a time. For the firmware, and I'm just trying to think. I think that's just about it, and then you'll be good to go. Pair your controller with the Cortex by simply turning them both on with the orange cable on both of them. And yeah, from there it should work. Okay, you can post any comments or questions you have below, or just email me, or I'm on Facebook too, but school stuff I'm not on there all the time. So I think that's it. Thanks. Choo.